right, joining us now is Gerald Celente of Trends Journal. And Gerald is spot on with the trends. Who knows in terms of time precisely what's going on. But he even predicted that it would be over the weekend, as it was. And he also predicted that the Middle East would be set on fire. And unfortunately, you were right, Gerald. Sad to say that this is happening. But we're going to take a look at some of the knock-on effects of this as well. What is really behind what's going on with BlackRock and the private credit market? Why are these funds doing so poorly in all this? And what is going to be the effect of what I consider to be the OPEC oil embargo 2.0, except this is the Trump oil embargo, TOE, I guess we call it, the toe. He's going to toe the line. So joining us now is Gerald Celente. Thank you for joining us, Gerald.
Oh, thanks for having me on, and thank you so much for what you do.
Well, thank you.
You know, I've been at this for 46 years.
Yeah.
Best-selling books, Trends 2000, Trend Tracking, Far Better Than Megatrends, Time Magazine. Been writing the magazine, the Trends Journal, since 1991. These are the most dangerous times of my lifetime.
Yeah.
And I'm the same age as Trump.
Yeah.
And if I look like him, I'd blow my brains out. And this is serious. We got madmen running the country.
Yes. Idiots. They're not only crazy, but they're fools as well at the same time.
Yeah. Well, yeah. You look at the cover of this week's Trends Journal magazine. It basically says, Trump said it was my opinion that Iran was going to attack us. And we write, shove your opinion up your you-know-what. Show us the facts. You don't start wars on opinions. Where is the outrage? Hey, it's my opinion, all right?
Yeah, that's right.
Show me the facts.
Yeah.
I don't have to show you the facts. Don't you know who I am? I'm some lying bastard who lied my way into office by saying things like, I'm not going to start a war. I'm going to stop wars. Oh, he said that in a campaign speech on October 20th, 2024.
Yeah, right.
Hey, we want to have peace on earth all over. Oh, he said that on September 25th, 2024. Yeah. How about this? 5 days after he's elected. I'm moving quickly to end wars, settle conflicts, and restore the planet to peace. I want peace. Said the piece of crap.
Yeah.
Lies. So now let's go back to the opinion. So here it is. You know, the guy across the street over here, we've been having a fight. You know, I think this guy's going to kill me. So I shot him. It was my opinion that he was going to kill me. So I shot him.
Yeah.
All right? Now, if I went to court, what would happen?
Well, let's take your example there. And because what Trump is saying is that they were going to destroy Israel. So we got them first, right? So that you'd say, well, I think my neighbor who's been arguing with my other neighbor, I think he was going to kill my other neighbor. So I went over there and killed him first, right?
Yeah.
It is insane.
Who can get away with this?
Yeah.
If I killed somebody because I thought they were going to kill me, and I went to court, Your Honor, it was my opinion that he was going to kill me, so I killed him. What would they do to me?
Yeah.
They'd lock me up. This guy should be locked up.
He should be.
You know, as you know, I taught close combat for many years, a black belt. You know what you learn in close combat? You only attack the attacker.
Yeah.
Got it?
Yeah.
You only attack the attacker.
That's right. And it's the moral issue of this, too. I'm so disgusted with these people who wear their Christianity on their sleeve like a tattoo, like Hegseth, and who's out there talking about how he can kill everybody. He's raining death and destruction down on people. And we're just getting started. If they think they're going to survive, they got another thing coming. He is the aggressor. You know, we are the aggressor in this. We're the bad guys in all of this. There's no question about it. And it's nothing that he's doing is Christian, right? It's like
no. I have to interrupt you. Go to hell. I'm going to read you Hegseth's bullshit that he spewed out yesterday. He's the real Christian. Here's what he said. This is at a press conference. Now the chairman and I are having just returned from Dover last night. Our troops and their families and their enormous sacrifice that they make is certainly heavy on my mind. You ready? So I'll close with scripture drawing strength from Psalm 141. Blessed be the Lord. You ready?
Yeah.
My rock, who trains my hands for war and my fingers for battle.
Yeah. The problem is...
Try that finger.
Yeah. If he was a Christian, he would also know that we don't wrestle against flesh and blood. And so that's what our hands are trained for. That's the warfare.
What God says my hands are trained for war.
Yeah, spiritual warfare. And what he is doing is he's on the side of the enemy when he's out there bragging about how many people he kills. Christ said, blessed are the peacemakers.
Yes.
Because they'll be called the children of God, not the warmongering Israelis who think that they are the only children of God. That is not what any of this is about. And I have to speak against Hegseth all the time because I want people to understand he does not represent Christ. He does not represent Christians. He is Antichrist.
Yep. So I'm going to go on. Again, blessed be the Lord, my rock, who trains my hands for war. Who the hell you talking to? God doesn't train your hands for war. Satan does. You got it?
That's right.
And my fingers for battle. As I said, that's your finger. He is my loving God and my fortress, my stronghold and my deliverer, my shield in whom I take refuge. May the Lord grant unyielding strength and refuge to our warriors, unbreakable protection to them and our homeland, and total victory over those who seek to harm them. And amen. God bless our troops and his mission. His mission isn't to slaughter people, you slimy bastard.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, he was set up to defend America, right? If somebody attacked us as an aggressor. But that's not what they wanted. They wanted the Department of War. He absolutely hates law and morality. He despises it. That's why they attacked people in Venezuela. That's why they went back and killed survivors in the water. This guy hates the Constitution. He hates international law. He hates the Geneva Convention. He hates what Christ has taught us. He hates all this stuff. He wants to kill people. That's his only mission in life, is to kill people. And I got to say, if you go back to some of the Old Testament kingdom statements, Israel was condemned because they said, no, you put your trust in horses and chariots. And these guys, all they do is count their horses and their chariots and their bombers and their missiles. That's what these creeps in the Pentagon trust in. They're not trusting in God.
Nope.
Yeah.
This is serious stuff.
It is.
Pentagon Chief Hegseth said Tuesday will be the most intensive day of strikes inside Iran.
Yeah.
We'll slaughter people. Hey, how about they're killing 175 kids in that school, huh?
And they don't care about that. They don't even have the decency to apologize. That's one of the stories I've got here. Senator Kennedy out of Louisiana apologized. He's the only one to say, I'm sorry, it was a mistake. Why couldn't Trump and Hegseth say that? Why couldn't they say that was a mistake? I'm sorry that happened. They won't acknowledge that it was even them. They come up with implausible lies that it was Iran, that Iran has got Tomahawk missiles. It's like Iran doesn't have Tomahawk missiles. Not even Israel is given Tomahawk missiles because they want to keep it proprietary, keep it secret,
Trump blamed Iran for bombing that school.
Yeah, I know. It's ridiculous. It's like the excuses that they made in Minnesota, in Minneapolis, Just come up with stuff like Christine Holmes said, well, they were stuck in the snow and they were attacked by her.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they just make this stuff up. They're worse than Clinton. At least Clinton would try to come up with something that was somewhat plausible, even if it was a lie. But Trump will just look at you and lie straight to your face. I think he learned that from Fauci.
Yep.
Yeah, it's amazing. Well, what goes on with this? How do you read what's happening with gold? It's been oil that has skyrocketed in price. What about gold? What do you think is going to be going on with gold?
They're doing everything they can to manipulate the markets. You made up that clown. What's his name? Chris Wright, the energy secretary.
Yeah.
How about Chris Wrong?
That's right.
A lying little bastard. Hey. So you know I am? I'm the energy secretary, all right? Here's what's going on. Our naval ships, we're bringing tankers through the Straits of Hormuz. But down goes the oil prices. Up goes the markets. Total lie.
Yeah.
Total lie. And then a couple of hours later, United States admitted that they weren't doing it.
That's right.
But it brought down the market. They're manipulating. Now I'm going to go back to another manipulation. And again, gold prices. And as you well know, it was 2 weeks ago. I do Judge Napolitano every Wednesday. We'll be on tonight at 6:30. I said, you could Google it up. I said, I believe that Trump is going to bomb Iran this weekend. I said it on a Wednesday. I said, it's in the Trends Journal. I said, all the polls show how he's going down.
Yeah.
They're hiding the Epstein files.
Yeah.
They're going to do everything they can to get the people's minds off this.
Right.
Everything they can. The markets were going down big. And we'll get back to that. We'll talk about talk about BlackRock and the other ones. Everything was going down. So now, gold. He attacks Iran, right?
Mm-hmm.
Gold prices spike. Again, he did it on the weekend. The equity markets open over in Asia.
Mm-hmm.
Poof, gold's going through the roof. $5,400 an ounce. The markets open in America. Boom, down goes gold. We write about it in the Trends Journal.
Mm-hmm.
They're manipulating the market. Oh, you don't believe me?
Yeah.
We put the quote in there from Reuters. September 2020. JP Morgan Chase is fined, September 2020, $920 million for rigging the precious metals market. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
So we said, we're not saying JP Morgan Chase is rigging the market. And we're not saying the Federal Reserve or the government's rigging the market. We're saying the facts. This is what happened before. It's happening now. They're doing everything they can to bring down the price of gold and silver because it's a safe haven asset and people are showing the fear that's really there. Again, it's at $5,400 an ounce. As soon as the American markets open, boom, it goes down about $300.
But
now,
that's a good news because it's on sale for the rest of us who know that reality is going to eventually catch up. You know, so
now,
if we play the long game, yeah, that's right.
Now let's go back to Monday. The markets open up again in Asia Sunday. Brent crude over $120 a barrel.
Mm-hmm.
What happens on Monday? Markets way down. Trump comes out. Looks like the war is going to end soon. It's almost over.
Yeah.
We're going to stop it. And what happens to Brent crude? Boom. Way down and the markets go up.
That's going to be a quote we're going to be playing for years. When Trump said that, it's going to be like George W. Bush, mission accomplished, right? On the aircraft carrier. That's going to be a quote enshrined in the annals of lies of politicians for centuries. Yeah.
Yep. They're manipulating the markets.
Yeah.
A little slime ball right. Lying in front of everybody's eyes.
That's right. And it's almost
And
like the
Trump-
markets knew that he was lying and still kept pushing it down. So, I mean, there's other things that were
telling you
involved with
what's
that as
going
well.
on.
Yeah.
I don't know what's Brent crude now. Do you know?
I don't know. I saw that it was, I think it dropped based on what he had to say. It dropped, I think, 11%. And I think West Texas Intermediate, I think, went down like 9% or something domestically.
Yeah, but it's still, last time I looked, Brent crude was over $90 a barrel.
Mm-hmm.
And you're looking at, hey, my State of the Union address, all right? Hey. The average price in most states of a gallon of gas, $2.30.
And you know, he's bragging about that, Gerald, but he doesn't fill up his gas tank, the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. Even as he's boasting about cheap oil prices, they don't fill that up. What's the matter with these people, right?
When he said that, it wasn't $2.30. It was $2.93.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
According to AAA.
Yeah.
Now it's around $3.54 a gallon.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Bragging 2 weeks ago.
This is the thing I put up. Remember the sticker, Gerald, of Biden, where he's pointing with his index finger to the, he put it right next to the price on the gas gauge there, on the gas tank. And I said, we need one with Trump. Says I did that, but instead of the index finger, he's using the middle finger.
Yeah.
pointing to the price of gas. He did that.
And that's what they've given us, the middle finger.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah. They are toast, Pentagon Chief Hegseth said. Sheer destruction of radical Islamist Iranian adversaries. Islamist adversaries. Did you hear that guy Rosenberg on WABC radio calling the mayor of New York City a jihadist terrorist?
No, I didn't hear that.
A Muslim jihadist terrorist? Hardly reported. It's in your Trends Journal.
Yeah.
I'm mentioning this. This is the Ninth Crusade.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to teach the people to hate the Islamists and the Muslims.
Mm-hmm.
Him calling Iran Islamist adversaries.
Well, of course, the difference with this crusade is that they're not trying to liberate Jerusalem from the Muslims. What they're trying to do is liberate the entire Middle East for Israel.
You got it.
Which is what you're seeing with Mike Huckabee and other people like that. And when he talks about all of Islam, what he's done is he's alienated the allies that are there as well. So we're not only short on ammunition, but we're short on allies as well. And he's out there, pushing them away.
You know, you're talking about Israel. Once upon a time, there was this guy by the name of Albert Einstein, atomic bomb cat, Jewish.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this whole thing about the new Palestinian Party. Among the most disturbing political phenomena of our times is the emergence of the newly created state of Israel, of the Freedom Party, a political party closely akin in its organization methods, political philosophy, and social appeal to the Nazis and fascist parties.
Yeah, that's right.
That's Einstein coming out against this.
Right.
Einstein.
Well,
made up crap in 1948 giving Israel the Palestinian land. And again, it's in your Trends Journal. We did a whole article. I've done this before, Crusades 2000, about the Balfour Declaration in 1917, that His Majesty's government views with favor the establishment in Palestine of a national home for the Jewish people and we will use our best endeavors to facilitate the achievement of this objective. His Majesty's government, some murderous slimeball from the UK where the sun never sets on the British Empire.
Mhm.
Oh, the Balfour Declaration that went to the Rothschilds, that one.
Yeah. Yeah, I was talking about Jeffrey Epstein and his eugenics program at the Zorro Ranch earlier in the broadcast. And one person said, well, what's the matter with eugenics, really? Because don't we want to have the best people? I said, well, the problem is that when you start with eugenics, where it eventually goes is to a situation where you dehumanize people that you don't think are part of the master race, right? We saw it with the Nazis, and we see it with the state of Israel, this ethnic state that is set up.
Yep.
They think that they are God's chosen people because of their ethnicity, and they think that everybody else is subhuman.
I know.
This is where eugenics always goes. And so they have basically become what they fought. And I think Einstein could see that. He lived in Nazi Germany. He could see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His words.
Yeah.
Again, look who they are. And again, don't call me an anti-Semite. None of these leaders of Israel are Semites. They're all Eastern Europeans.
Mm-hmm.
Semites are from the Mesopotamia region.
Yeah. Yeah. Largely from Ukraine.
And Ashkenazis.
Mm-hmm.
Ashkenazi. Ashkenazis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
So going back to gold, we're very bullish on gold and silver.
Yeah.
It's going to continue to escalate. And what's going on with the BlackRock and these other companies, again, everybody forgets that this thing was going down. The equity markets were tanking before Trump launched this war.
Yeah.
Again, when all else fails, they take you to war. And the reason being is that again, look at your top trends. Oh, by the way, one of them is World War III would become official this year, and the dot-com bust.
Mm-hmm.
China, when they had a big summit meeting in Asia where the top AI guys and world leaders went to a couple of weeks ago for AI.
Mm-hmm.
1.4 billion people in India, 1.4 billion in China. China's investing heavily, both Asian countries are investing heavily in AI. They're going to lead the world in AI.
Mm-hmm.
They're pulling the money out of these big hedge funds and venture capitalists and private equity groups because they see the markets going down. And they're realizing what we had forecast that nobody wanted to talk about, and that's the office building bust. Yes. There are defaults after defaults after defaults on office buildings that they're not reporting on.
And what about the private credit thing that's going on with, what was it, Blue Owl or something like that? Yeah, is that tied to the
doing. They're pulling the money out,
yeah.
But they're saying, yes, real estate's a big part of it, but also the AI, because they're doing away, you don't need these companies anymore, the software companies, et cetera, that they've invested very heavily in. Mm-hmm. AI's taking out these jobs. Mm-hmm. You saw IBM. IBM had its biggest fall since the dot-com bust a couple of weeks ago. IBM.
Wow.
So these private equity groups have invested in all the rich people invested in these private equity groups and put their money in these things, and now they want the money out. But the private equity groups, you only can get this much out.
Yeah.
You only can get this tiny bit out.
Yeah. That's right.
And no, I want more of it. No, you can't get it because we don't have it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you, this is going to be worse than the Great Depression.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, certainly it's going to be worse than what we saw with the stagflation of the 1970s, because when you look at that, I said this very early on. I said, it's the OPEC oil embargo was only directed at the United States. And at that point in time, we only had 19% of all of our oil was from foreign sources, and not all of that was coming from the Gulf states. And then look at the chaos that happened here in the United States and around the world because of that. Now we're talking about with the Strait of Hormuz, we're talking about 20%. And if the Iranians really want to go for the long war and inflict a lot of pain, they can start, they don't have to just block the Strait of Hormuz. They can start taking down oil infrastructure and liquid natural gas infrastructure all over the place. They can take out ports and have the same effect. So I think this is going to be a very long-term thing. What has happened already is going to take a while to unwind, and the longer this goes and the more knock-on effects, the more this is going to have a very long-term effect. As a matter of fact, Jeffrey Tucker of Brownstone put out an article that I covered this week talking about the fact that 6 years on, we're still feeling the effects of Trump's lockdown in 2020. And absolutely true, because that's what you talk about all the time. Commercial real estate is one aspect of it, but it is permeated in so many different ways. It has changed our society structurally, and this is going to do the same thing. Even if they were to pull it off right now and stop, it would still have a long knock-on effect, and one of those effects is going to be inflation. And so when we look at the price of gold and silver, I think this is basically a buying opportunity, the same way that when Trump was elected, because of all of his promises to the crypto community, crypto automatically went up and gold and silver went down. And I said, at that point in time, I said, it's on sale. You know, it's as good as it's going to get. I think that's the situation right now. They're manipulating this to go down because they don't want to damage the dollar. But I think in the long term, that's what happens. The dollar gets damaged because they're just going to keep pouring money into this black hole of war with more weapons and, more treasure into that. And so just from a financial standpoint, it's going to be devastating to the debt.
Again, you're seeing the dollar go up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the reason the dollar is going up is because Europe is really getting hit hard.
Yeah.
These energy prices in Europe are they're way, way up.
Mm-hmm.
America has, we're the biggest supplier, a creator of oil in the world. We're producing more than anybody else. They got to import it.
Yeah.
So that's why you're seeing the euro going down and the dollar going up.
But it's even affecting. It's even when you look at liquid natural gas. Yeah, when you look at liquid natural gas, it's going to affect us, even though we are the major provider of it. Just had one of the viewers here saying he got notification that their gas bill is going way up in April because even though we're producing it, you got this international competition for this scarce resource. So the price is going to go up domestically, even though we're the major producer of it.
Yep. Yeah. No, it's again, they're all saying stagflation. It's not going to be stagflation. Stagflation means the economy's stagnant.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
It's going to be dragflation.
Yes.
The economy is going to go down and inflation's going up.
Mm-hmm. And you've been saying that for a long time.
Yeah.
You've been saying this is where it's going. And this has been basically a slow boat to China.
Right in front of everybody's eyes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're talking before about COVID, what Trump did. Yeah. The guy that sold the Operation Warp Speed jab, that guy. The guy that locked down, you and I talked about it when it happened. He closed down called the state of emergency on what? March 13th, Black Friday, 2020.
Mm-hmm.
And then what happened? All over the world, Italy was the first one to lock down. Average age of the people dying, by the way, back then was 81 years old. Mm-hmm. And when it hit America, it hit Kirkland, Washington, a old age home up in, nobody ever heard of the place. But anyway, the whole world has gone down. Yeah. The whole world has changed since COVID. It's a whole different world.
That's right.
I have people from Turkey, from Portugal, from Italy. Everyone tells me how it all changed. Yeah. It's a whole different world.
Yeah, we'll start talking about
the damage it's done is incalculable.
We'll start talking about BC, right? Before COVID.
Yeah, there you go.
Changed the world.
Perfectly.
Yeah, I remember when we actually had a real world here, and now we've virtualized everything. And you bust stuff like this. This is broken window fallacy. They're not helping anybody. I mean, Lindsey Graham is going nuts and saying, we're going to get rich with all this stuff. We're going to control most of the world's oil resources. We're going to have a third of the world's oil resources between Venezuela and Iran. It's like, you're not going to have that. You're blowing up those oil fields right now.
You know what the amazing thing is? Why the hell does anybody quote Lindsey Graham?
Because
I've
he's
been
so
hearing the
unhinged.
crap spewing out of this little nobody's mouth from South Carolina for decades.
Yeah, yeah.
A little piece of garbage scum crap. And they keep repeating what this imbecile has, like that little Cruz crap head.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's just because Lindsey Graham is so off the charts crazy. He's totally insane. And that makes him eminently quotable, I guess. It's like, look at what this idiot just said. This guy is truly dangerous. And he's never seen a war that he gets on Fox News and he goes, here's my hat where we're going to go to Cuba. Here's my hat. We're going to go to the next country they're going to attack. And it's like at some point in time, he's going to lose his head. And he's not going to have a
again. Why are they
hats
quoting
on.
this clown? You know, you talk about Fox News.
Yeah.
You've been up here where I am. Back in the day, they had the satellites. Fox News is doing an interview with me live with former CIA director, who I'm going after, as Obama is bombing Libya.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, we have to. I'm sorry, we have to take a break. Remember, they have the satellite truck up here. Senator Lindsey Graham is coming on.
They replaced you with Lindsey Graham?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Fox News. All right. Yeah.
Yep. I'm going back to 2011.
Yeah. One of these things is not like the other.
Around there. Yeah. Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, of course, they just covered for Trump as well. You know, he goes to this dignified transfer of the bodies that they brought back of soldiers. And he shows up wearing a cap and he doesn't take it off. So he gets criticized by a lot of people for doing that, not showing respect at the dignified transfer. Take your hat off. All these people are saying, well, Fox News ran an archive clip of Trump where he didn't have a hat on.
Right. I saw that.
Yeah. Pretty much. Those people are unbelievable shills, aren't they? It's amazing. Of course, that's where they found War Pete, was in the dregs of Fox News. They pulled him out of there and put him on.
Oh, and look who they have as his defense secretary, a little clown boy from Fox News.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, yeah.
Oh, not defense. I forgot.
War.
Trump changed it from the Department of Defense to the Department of War.
Yeah.
He meant it.
Yeah.
Again, this is the draft dodger.
Mm-hmm.
5 draft deferments he got. The Vietnam War. And now he's in charge because here's Hegseth yesterday. Hegseth said President Trump, quote, gets to control the throttle. He's the one deciding. He's the one elected on behalf of the American people. So there you got it. He's deciding. A reality show star playing the role of the President of the United States, a draft dodger who knows nothing about anything, is in full control of the throttle.
Yeah.
And you got this Hegseth that lies about how he said the nation was being threatened because of Iran's nuclear bombs.
No, yeah. They just told us they took care of all those. And of course, we've been hearing from Bibi for 30 some odd years that it's any week now, right? They're going to have a nuclear weapon, or any day.
Yeah.
Right? They're going to have it.
Yeah. And Witkoff.
This is the eternal lie. Yeah.
How about Witkoff saying the same thing?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or Jerkoff. Witkoff with Jerkoff. I forget which his real name is.
Right before it happened. Well, you know, one of the things, I guess, is when you look at Trump and the way that he talks and the way he insults people, and the rhetoric that he uses, which is just, it's like 8-year-old, schoolyard rhetoric that he uses against everybody. Yeah. And then you got Pete Hegseth, who is just like wide open with all these toys that he can use to kill people. It's disgusting to watch these people talk. In the past, when you'd have somebody who is Secretary of Defense, they would have the gravitas to control their speech, and to not, even if they did have glee in the fact that they were killing people, they would at least have the decency to try to hide it. This guy revels in the carnage that he is inflicting on people, and he's constantly boasting about it.
So here's his boasting. Hegseth said the United States and Israel Air Force will have complete control over Iranian skies and uncontested airspace. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
We will fly all day, all night, finding, fixing, and finishing the Iranian military and their leaders. Iran's senior leaders are dead. The so-called governing council that would have selected successors are dead, missing, or cowering in bunkers, too terrified to even occupy the same room. Iran's officials cannot talk or communicate, let alone mount a coordinated, sustained offensive. That's his language.
Wow.
Totally opposite of what you were just saying that they used to say.
Yeah. 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 They used to have some decorum and
Yep.
some respect. And of course, a long time ago, we used to try to avoid civilian casualties. That's one of the things that really bothered me in that back and forth on the airplane when Trump was first asked about this stuff. And he says, well, I don't know. I don't think. And Hegseth says, well, we're looking into it, which you've had a week to look into it. You don't even really care. And you're not going to apologize to anybody for it. And you're not going to say it's a tragedy. Instead, he says, we don't target civilians. And yet, that's what he's doing primarily, is targeting civilians.
Again, going back to Hegseth's crap, he goes on to say about Trump. He said that he's the one deciding, he's the one elected on behalf of the American people. Okay.
Yeah, he's elected to not start the war.
You see the Quinnipiac poll? The American people? 53% of Americans, voters, opposed the U.S. military action against Iran.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so, the American people voted for him. How about doing what the American people want?
Yeah.
Only 40% of the people support the war. The majority are against it.
That's right.
How about doing what we want? Go to hell. Hey, you know who I am? Look at the clown circus he has. Marco Rubio.
Yeah.
Hegseth.
Yeah.
Witkoff. Lutnick. Skutnik. Slutnik.
Yeah. Where's the adult in the room? Where is there anybody that isn't a criminal? It truly is amazing.
Yep. No, this is serious. This is the most serious time of my lifetime. And if we don't have peace on earth, it's going to be hell on earth. And Trump is going to do everything he can to stay in power. And I'm concerned about a false flag event.
Yeah. Yeah. I talked about the timing because there was on Wednesday, there was an article that was done by the Jerusalem Post. They asked 4 of the large language models when they thought it was going to happen. And Grok was spot on, and all of them predicted it within about a week. I was reluctant to say that it would happen. I knew it was going to happen on a Saturday because that's a pretty predictable pattern that they've got. You had talked about that as well. But I thought they would do a false flag first. And so I put up a thing, hey, where'd my false flag go? It doesn't even bother to get a consensus of the American people. He could fool a lot of people with a false flag, and he could get a consensus for attacking. But he didn't even care about that. Just like he doesn't care enough to come up with a plausible deniability when they kill a massive number of children. And so I think they're going to do a false flag attack and try to consolidate and try to build up his numbers of approval.
Yep. And the other thing, too, that's totally just about out of the news. 700,000 Lebanese had to leave their homes because Israel's bombing southern Lebanon?
Yeah, yeah.
700. So everybody listening, get out of your house. Imagine being forced out of your house as being bombed.
Yeah.
Imagine.
That's right.
Oh, and they're blaming Hezbollah for doing this because Hezbollah struck. Okay. How many times has Israel violated the ceasefire agreement that they signed with Lebanon in 2024 in November?
Yeah.
The numbers, about 10,000. 10,000 strikes.
Well, just look at Gaza. They immediately started violating that ceasefire agreement. They didn't abide by any of that.
Where is the outrage?
Yeah.
Where is the, and as I say, where are all these religions? Could you imagine if all the religions went, the leaders of the religion said, everybody get out to the streets. We must all get out to the streets in the name of God, in the name of peace.
Yeah.
We have to stop these wars. But it would end like that.
Yeah.
It would end like that. Was the Pope got locked? Sure. How come you're not out there?
Yeah.
Where are you people? Yeah. And the other thing too is this thing, the look at Congress. They opposed the War Powers Act.
Yes. Yes.
Hardly reported.
Did you see what Mike Johnson said? He had this press conference and he said, they attacked 3 of our embassies. They attacked us, he said. It's like after you dropped how many hundreds of bombs on them, It's like, it's just amazing how insane the excuses that come from these people and the lies and the way they twist the facts.
And look at the little clown boy of nothing, Mike Johnson.
Yeah.
A little gutless little clown. A little nobody of nothing. Mike Johnson, one freak after another. The other way, a couple of people come out against this, and that's it. It's horrible. And again, you look at here, President Trump. This is in the Trends Journal in the letter to the subscribers. President Trump has offered shifting explanations for why the U.S. went to war, stating that he believed Iran was preparing to strike first. He said his, quote, opinion was shaped, you ready? By discussions with key advisors, including Steve Witkoff, his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, and Secretary of State, Marco Rubio. His son-in-law? Jared Kushner, when Netanyahu used to come to America, stayed at the Kushner's house?
Yeah.
Oh, that one?
Yeah.
Witkoff, Jerkoff, who said Iran was ready to, in a couple of weeks, they'll have nuclear capabilities.
Mm-hmm.
Words to that effect.
Yep. Well, when the reports...
Rubio, a little clown boy of nothing, who Trump used to make fun of.
Yeah, that's right. Little Marco, yeah. When the reports, Gerald, came out that, the Iranians reached out to the CIA and wanted to have some more talks about this stuff right after they broke out. And then Bibi called Trump on the carpet and said, you're not talking to these people behind our back, are you? And so the White House, to say, no, we have solidarity with Israel, said that Witkoff and Jared Kushner talked to Bibi and the Mossad on a daily basis.
Yep.
And maybe that's where they got the information that there was an outreach from the Iranians for peace. Maybe it was Jared Kushner who told them that. But again, do they get daily briefings from the Pentagon? Do they get daily briefings even from the CIA, which is probably fully on with this war and regime change? No, they get daily briefings from a foreign government and a foreign intelligence agency.
That runs our country.
Yeah, they're spies. They're spies. You know what we do with spies.
Yep.
That's what should be done. But it's really sad. I got a comment here from a listener, DG8. He says, David, can you let Gerald know when Trump and Hegseth say they're going to hire tool makers to build missiles? I'm in Ohio, 61-year-old tool maker. Nobody is joining this trade. We can't find anyone. Yeah, and that's a big part of what is happening to so many fundamental aspects of our country.
The whole country's gone down.
Yeah.
It's so terrible. Yep. No, this is really serious. Again, when all else fails, they take you to war.
Yeah.
And the economy, yeah, he's right. Young people, look at them. Again, go back to COVID. Man, I'm a young guy, right? Come home, 3 o'clock. Mom, going out. Make sure you're home at 6 o'clock. We used to eat dinner at 6 o'clock, everybody. Imagine being a young kid during COVID. You can't go out. Stay in your house. You can't go to school. You can't go to the beach. You can't go out and play. You can't do anything. They got all screwed up.
Well, we already had a lot of that. I mean, I cover story after story of the fact that nosy neighbors call Child Protective Services if they see some kids that are out playing. Karen and I were driving around and we saw some kids playing in the yard. And I said, I don't ever see that. And it struck me as odd. And then I thought about it and I thought, why is that odd? That's the way we used to live. But you just don't see that anymore. You see everybody locked in their houses.
So when he's talking about they can't find people, there were young people who are all screwed up.
Yeah.
They got, again, and that's the other thing. They're totally addicted. They're on their phones constantly. Mm-hmm. Constantly. They're totally wiped out. As I said, you've heard me say it. They got it wrong in the King James Bible when they said the meek shall inherit the earth. They misspelt it. The geeks have inherited the earth. Mm-hmm. These kids are all screwed up.
Well, even talk about it as doom scrolling. You just sit there scrolling. And that's really where this is all leading to. Doom. It really is. Doom for individuals and doom for society collectively. That's where all this stuff is headed. Well, when you look at Trump, he is a one-man fourth turning, I've said. He wants to create chaos and conflict everywhere. Look at everything that he's done. He gets Canada angry at us to the point where they're booing our hockey teams and things like that. We've never had a problem with Canada before. He wants to attack Greenland. He wants to attack everybody. He sets everybody against each other. And so now this guy who, took it to the next level with tariffs, now he's going straight on to war. It's like his whole mission that he's been given by his masters who put him in office is to shut everything down.
Again, and he lied his way into office as a peace candidate. The facts are all there. The quotes are all there. I'm not going to start a war. I'm going to stop wars. One lie after another.
Yeah, absolutely. It's incredibly crazy. But again, you've been telling people about this and warning people about it. And there's absolutely no reason for oil to be dropping or for gold to be dropping. Anybody that's paying attention to what's going on, you can see where this is all headed. Look, if we were to have peace tomorrow, and I hope we do, but I don't think it's going to happen. But if we had that, the inflation and the disruption and everything is already baked in for another wave of this stuff. So take advantage of that information. Take advantage of Trends Journal because that'll give you the information that you need. Thank you, Gerald. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
The common man. They created Common Core to dumb down our children. They created Common Pass to track and control us. Their Commons Project to make sure the commoners own nothing. And the communist future. They see the common man as simple, unsophisticated, ordinary. But each of us has worth and dignity created in the image of God. That is what we have in common. That is what they want to take away. Their most powerful weapons are isolation, deception, intimidation. They desire to know everything about us while they hide everything from us. It's time to turn that around and expose what they want to hide. Please share the information and links you'll find at davidknightshow.com. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing. If you can't support us financially, please keep us in your prayers. davidknightshow.com.